We're going to be making this wear clip, which also wraps around the back on this one side here. And we're going to be repositioning and scaling this piece to better fit the rest of the models. And we're also going to be adding a hole into this clip here. So to get started, we're just going to go back to our Blender file. We're going to do Alt-H to unhide everything. We're going to right-click to select this piece, press Tab to go into edit mode. I'm going to do 3 for side view, and I'm going to switch to face select. And I'm going to select this face here. Then I'm going to go underneath and start selecting these faces. So you want these 3 and then the rest of these right here. We're going to do Shift-D to duplicate, right-click to cancel, P to separate and choose selection, tab into object mode, right-click here to select our newly created object, tab into edit mode, go to add modifier, and choose mirror. Turn on the X, Y, and Z axis, turn on clipping, and turn on this option. So this piece extends out beyond this clip. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these faces here and we're just going to bring them out a bit on the Y axis. Then we're going to do Control R, add in a loop cut, and we want the loop cut to be approximately where this bend is on this part. Then we're going to switch to vertex select this vertex. I'm going to do period to focus in on this. And we actually want to bring these in a bit, so I'm going to bring these in some because it kind of tapers inward like this. And I'm just going to bring some of these others inward a bit as well. And I'm also going to bring this one back to kind of reduce the roundness at the front. And maybe even bring some of these back some and then out some, just to keep a smoother shape at the end. You can adjust the end a little bit more if you want to try to get a shape that you like a little bit better. And I think actually these probably need to be moved out slightly again, sort of like that, and maybe bring this back some to straighten it out a little bit more. And I think that's going to be fine. So from here we're going to try to make that part that goes around the back. And for that we're going to have to apply the mirror modifier because it only goes around the back and not the front. So we're going to go to object mode and apply the mirror modifier. Then we're going to go back to edit mode and select these 3 back vertices. It should be the side that has this piece hanging over it as well, not this other side. And then you want to select the same 3 vertices on this part as well. So these 3 inner vertices and then the 3 on this side. Then you're going to do bridge edge loops. You can do Shift and Q if you have your hotkey, or you can go to mesh edges and do bridge edge loops here. Then we're going to do Control R, left click, right click. It's going to get an edge right in the center, and we're going to bring it out in this direction. And we're going to bring it out pretty far, something like this. And then we're going to do Control B and mouse wheel up until we have 5 cuts. So you should have 2 to the left, 1 in the center, and then 2 to the right. And just do a bevel, something like that should be fine. Bring it out a little more, scale it on the Y-axis by doing S then Y, and scaling it out. You want this to be inward a little bit, but not at the same. So you can see it kind of comes in a little bit. That's pretty much what we're going for, just to have a small inward increase and then this nice curve like that. Then we're going to go to edge select and we're going to alt right click, alt and shift right click to get the rest of these. And we're going to do Control B and just try to keep somewhat even quads throughout this when you're doing this. So just do Control B and try to make it so that they're somewhat even quads. And that's just going to help make this look a bit more round. And what I think I want to do at this point, for mine at least, is pull this out some and maybe scale it on the x-axis a bit to give it a little bit more curvature. So just make any adjustments that you want to get the type of shape right here. This looks okay, I guess. I'm going to bring this maybe back a little bit. So that looks good. Once you're happy with the shape, we're going to press A twice and do Control N to recalculate the normals here. I guess that's going to be fine. And then we're going to add a modifier. We're going to add the Solidify modifier. And at this point you can adjust this value to add some thickness to this. So I'm going to play around with this value until I get the thickness I'm looking for. So not too much thickness on this part, just a little bit here, something like that should probably be fine. Then the next thing we want to do before we apply this is do an inset. So with everything selected, you're going to do I to inset and just do a small inset. So you should have the outer edge and then this nice little inset here. And that's just to help with the shading. Then you're going to tab to object mode and apply this modifier. Then tab back into edit mode, switch to face select, and we're going to alt right click here, and then we're going to do I to do another inset. Again, do a small inset, and this is to help the shading once again. And this should be the end of this. Looks nice. Now we're going to make the hole that goes in this piece. So we're going to right click to select this piece. We're actually going to hide it. We're going to press H to hide. Right click to select this piece, tab into edit mode, switch to vertex select. We want the hole on the other piece to be the same size as this hole so that the screw that's going through it is going to be passing through a similar size hole the entire way through. So we're going to alt right click, we're going to shift D to duplicate, right click to cancel, bring it up on the Z axis. Then we're going to do P to separate, choose selection, tab into object mode, Alt H to unhide, right click to select this, shift and right click to select this, Control J to join, tab into edit mode, select this vertex, delete, choose vertices, select this vertex, delete and choose vertices. Alt right click on this, bring it down on the Z axis, hold Control and snap it to this point. E to extrude, right click to cancel, bring it down on the Z axis, hold Control, snap it to this point. We're going to Alt and Shift, right click, we're going to E to extrude, right click to cancel, S, Shift and Z to scale this out by excluding the Z axis. We actually want to delete these faces, so we're going to do delete and choose faces. Now we want to Alt right click, Alt and Shift right click, and we actually should probably do the bottom first. So we're going to Alt right click, Alt and Shift right click, Alt F to create faces down here in the bottom, Alt right click, Alt and Shift right click, Alt F to create faces on the top. So now we have our hole here. We can do smooth shading in object mode to make sure it's smooth shaded. We can go back into edit mode, go to face select, Alt right click, and then do I to inset, and this will help correct the shading. The last part is to bring that nut up onto the top of this and to scale it into position. So I'm going to do Z for wireframe in object mode, select this piece right here, which is our nut. We can tab into edit mode, A twice to select everything, bring this up, and bring it into position. We can S to scale this up. We want the outer parts here to be pretty much at the edge of this, maybe not quite at the edge, but you want it to be pretty close to the edge. Then what we want to do is we can scale this down a bit. We can make it a little bit shorter, kind of like I made this shorter. To do that, you can do S, Z, and that will shorten it out. Lastly, we want to make sure that this hole is a similar size to this hole. So what we're going to do is we're going to Alt right click, and then we're going to do Control plus to make sure we have the interfaces and the supporting edge loop around them. Then we're going to do 7 for top view, Z for wireframe. We're going to do S, Shift and Z to exclude the Z axis, and we're going to bring this out. We want to bring this out with the scale option until it's the same size approximately as this ring. So we're going to do S, Shift and Z and scale it out until it's approximately the same size. Then just left click when you're happy. And that should be it for this. So now you have your nice nut. You can still scale it to be a little smaller if you want. You can make any adjustments that you want. But once you're happy with all your adjustments, just make sure to save it, go to File and Save. Thank you to our awesome Patreon supporters. If you'd like to become a Patreon supporter yourself, head on over to patreon.com/StephenBrooks. Thank you for your support.